Hello to all the football fans and my lovely listeners, and welcome to the latest episode of your favorite football podcast, Gaffer's Advisor. This is your host and Gaffer's Advisor, Siddharth Kathuria, and I would like to begin with a gentle reminder that Gaffer's Advisor is now also on YouTube. So please do not forget to like and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform you may be using to tune in. We are 3 game weeks into the 2022-23 season of the Premier League, with Arsenal leading the table after 3 wins in 3 matches, much to the surprise of many, including myself if I can be totally candid. In this episode, I will review the performance of the Big Six, so to say, in the recent weeks before talking about their upcoming fixture in Gameweek 4. So let's get on to the episode without any further delay, starting with the current table toppers, Arsenal. The London-based club started their last season with their worst ever beginning to a campaign, but Mikel Arteta and squad have turned it around at least up until this point. It was 3 losses from 3 matches in last season, and it is 3 victories in 3 matches this season. Arsenal faced Leicester and Bournemouth in game weeks 2 and 3 respectively and ended up with resounding victories. The home crowd seemed to have worked for Gabriel Jesus, who opened his Arsenal account with a brace in Arsenal's 4-2 win over Leicester. William Saliba too, after scoring an own goal at the Emirates, redeemed himself against Bournemouth by getting on the scoresheet along with Martin Odegaard, who scored the first 2 goals in the 3-0 away win. The good news for all the Arsenal fans is the style of play and the pure dominance displayed by the London outfit in the 2 matches. Mikel Arteta's tactics may not have been all about dominating the ball, but the team did move the ball around in crucial areas in the final third to keep their opponents on both the occasions on the back foot. The news, however, that should concern Arteta and the fans alike is that Arsenal has not had a real test so far. Gameweek 4 brings a surprise package to the Emirates for Arteta in the form of Fulham. This supposed weaker club, much like the ones Arsenal has faced so far, led twice against Liverpool and held them to a draw in their opening match, visited the Molineux and came away with a point against the Wolves and defeated Brentford in their latest league match. Mikel Arteta will need his thinking cap on for any surprise Marco Silva may have up his sleeve. Fulham does come with the likes of Alexander Mitrovic, and now the former Arsenal man Bernd Leno has joined their ranks to boost the squad against the Gunners. It was the first instance for Arsenal since 2004-2005 season to win the first 3 opening matches of a season. It remains to be seen if they make it 4 wins out of 4 matches or if Fulham halts them dead in their tracks. But keeping in mind the home field advantage for Arsenal and the kind of attacking form the squad is in, it seems probable that Arsenal is going in for 4-4. Moving from the Gunners to their North London rivals, Tottenham Hotspur. The Spurs began their campaign this season with a resounding victory, but their form in the last 2 game weeks seems to have suffered. A London derby against Chelsea at the Stamford Bridge may have ended in a 2-2 draw, but it was not without controversy. Opposing managers Thomas Tuchel and Antonio Conte turned out to be a combustible duo, getting all up in each other's business twice. Ironically, both times after Spurs came back from behind to negate Chelsea's lead. Playing out of the visiting side dugout, Spurs survived the encounter and escaped with a single point only after Harry Kane equalized just at the death to join Højbjerg on the score sheet. During their next match against the visiting Wolves, playing without manager Antonio Conte on the sidelines, the home side looked on the defensive as the visitors tested the Spurs captain's patience. Another Harry Kane goal in the second half proved to be the only thing separating the sides, and Spurs managed to rake in all 3 points. The second half strike by the England captain took him to the top of the list of goal scorers with the most goals for a single club, as his tally for Tottenham reached a staggering 185 goals. Having survived 2 tough matches, Spurs will travel to the City Ground in the upcoming game week to take on the newly promoted Nottingham Forest. Even though the home side is returning to the Premier League for the first time since last playing in 1999, they are not short on confidence after beating West Ham at home and drawing away against Everton. Antonio Conte would do well to not underestimate the club, especially considering the overhaul Forest has seen in the ongoing transfer window with more than 15 transfers done so far. Spurs look like winning the encounter at the City Ground clear as a day, but the weather in England can get gloomy and cloudy within the blink of an eye, just like a Premier League match can turn around in a jiffy. It will be interesting to see if Forest topple Spurs in their own backyard or if Spurs bounce back to find the form with which they started the season. Following the two clubs from London, to complete the trifecta, let's talk about the third London club in the Big Six, Chelsea. After kicking off their season on the road with a win against the Toffees, Chelsea came back home to host their local rivals Tottenham in the second game week. As discussed in just the previous segment, lots of drama ensued during the sizzling encounter. 2 goals for Chelsea, 2 equalizers for the visiting Spurs, 2 fights between the managers, and finally the 2 red cards shown by referee Anthony Taylor to the managers after the full-time whistle made up for this controversial but highly talked about encounter. New signing Koulibaly opened the scoring for Chelsea against the Spurs, and Reece James joined him on the score sheet. Fast forward to the following game week, and Chelsea visited the Elland Road to take on Leeds United in search of their second win this season. But with Thomas Tuchel absent from the touchline, a dreamy expectation took the shape of a nightmare in the first half itself, and it was a nightmare that ended with Chelsea losing 3-0 to Leeds. Raheem Sterling saw his second consecutive goal getting ruled offside and is still waiting for his first official goal in Chelsea colours. Mendy had a horrible outing without a doubt, and it all started with a shocking lapse of judgment when he literally gave the ball away to Aronson that led to the first Leeds goal. Rodrigo added a second shortly after, and Harrison completed the slaughter in the second half. But the good news for Chelsea fans is that their next match is at home against a Leicester City side that seems to be struggling to find any kind of form. At the same time, the bad news is that Leicester City has 1 point from 3 games so far, and Vardy and company are itching to change that statistic. Another potential bad news is the appeal hearing for Thomas Tuchel, as his one-match ban hangs in the balance, and his presence or absence at the Stamford Bridge could be a huge difference maker to both the home side and the visiting side. Chelsea being a black box this season is really turning out to be a fact so far, and if their form continues to be on the same trajectory, top 4 looks like a far-fetched dream. But we are 1 World Cup and 35 match weeks away from any kind of final standings. Moving from one great footballing city of London to another great footballing city of Manchester, to Manchester City precisely for the next segment. After kicking off their season in a perfect fashion by beating West Ham United, the Guardiola juggernaut rolled all over Bournemouth at the Etihad in Game Week 2. A one-sided 4-0 win saw Gundogan, De Bruyne and Phil Foden on the score sheet, and an own goal by Bournemouth's Lerma put the finishing touches on the demolition. In their most recent match, the citizens travelled to the St James's Park to take on Newcastle United with the hopes to extend their winning run to 3-3 and join Arsenal as the only other club with 100% win rate this season so far. The visiting City side did score the opening goal courtesy Gundogan, but Newcastle came back strong to put 3 past City and lead 3-1. The Magpies had City's party ruined, but the former Dortmund striker netted City's second, with Bernardo Silva scoring the third to rescue a point for the defending champions. The thrilling encounter produced many amazing moments, including a red card being overturned by VAR, much to Trippier's and Newcastle's delight. Had the red card not been overturned and had the home side gone a man down, it would have been like sharks smelling blood, and City might have completed the comeback to win the encounter altogether. For their next game week, Manchester City find themselves in the comfort of the Etihad as they welcome the unpredictable Crystal Palace. The Eagles visit the Etihad on the back of a loss against Arsenal, a draw against Liverpool, and a win over Aston Villa. Pep Guardiola does not seem like a guy who needs any reminders to not take the Eagles lightly, but then again, Newcastle did just shock them. In all probability, Manchester City makes it 3 wins out of the 4 matches against Palace, but when it comes to the Premier League, I believe never say never. Now from the blue of Manchester to the red of Manchester as we move to Manchester United. The Red Devils kicked off the season with a new manager and a new hope, and 90 minutes later, all had come crashing down as Erik ten Hag's men started the season with a loss against Brighton. Gameweek 2 brought a visit to the community stadium in Brentford, and the fans hoped again for the first win of the season. 90 minutes passed, and the result for the visitors was a 4-0 loss, with all 4 Brentford goals coming in the first half itself. Erik ten Hag and company returned to the Old Trafford for Game Week 3, being placed at the 20th place in the table and having 0 goals to the name of any United player. Manchester United hosted Liverpool at the Old Trafford in the most heated rivalry of the Premier League. New manager Ten Hag made a bunch of changes to the lineup to face Liverpool, and the changes seemed like they did the trick. Jadon Sancho fired in the first goal of the match and the first goal for a United player this season. Marcus Rashford joined Jadon Sancho on the score sheet in the second half, and Mo Salah pulled one back for the visitors to spoil De Gea's clean sheet. The match ended 2-1 to Manchester United, and the Red Devils notched their first points on the table courtesy of this victory. With a huge win against arch rivals, it can be expected from United to have their tails up for the next game week when they travel to the St. Mary's Stadium to take on Southampton. Now the Saints may have started their season with a loss, but they still have 1 point more than Manchester United so far this season, and the Saints can boast of a win over Leicester City. Shea Adams fired in a brace against the Foxes off the bench, and it will be interesting to see if he earns a start against the visiting Red Devils. Ten Hag is still under the scanner despite getting his first win of the season, and a team effort and a positive result against Southampton can be very crucial for the new man at the helm. And the final stop on the way to Game Week 4 is the Anfield, where Liverpool will play host to a visiting Bournemouth side. Now this can be considered an advantage for Jurgen Klopp and his men to host an alleged smaller club in their own backyard, paving a clear way to 3 points. But it is worth noting that Liverpool kicked off their season with a draw against Fulham, and in their next match they were held to a 1-1 draw at Anfield by Crystal Palace. Just like the game against Fulham, Liverpool had to come from behind to salvage a point at home. Luis Diaz equalized after Zaha had put the Eagles in front. The match was made even more eventful thanks to the headbutt by the new red striker Darwin Núñez, which earned him a straight red, bringing the home side down to 10 men. As a result, Liverpool travelled to Old Trafford for Game Week 3 with Núñez suspended and a few other injury concerns. The Klopp-managed Liverpool side had only managed 2 points from their opening 2 games and were hoping to record their season's first victory over rivals Manchester United. But fate had other plans for the visiting Reds, and they found themselves trailing yet again in this season after Jadon Sancho put the home side ahead. The match ended with Liverpool losing 1-2, with Mo Salah bagging a consolation late in the match. Now Liverpool may be hosting Bournemouth at Anfield and may have the home field advantage in the next game week, but at the same time, the squad at Klopp's disposal is still in a depleted shape. Darwin Núñez will still be missing from action, so Klopp may need to rely upon Bobby Firmino to lead the attack again. With other big names like Diogo Jota, Thiago, Joel Matip and others missing the trip to Old Trafford, it remains uncertain as to what the final playing 11 will be. But one thing that is certain is that even though the fixture Liverpool vs Bournemouth seems uneven on paper, the hosts and the visitors will both be itching to get the big W and the 3 important points that come with it. Now that we have talked about the big six in the Premier League, let us talk about the big four that will be playing in the UEFA Champions League this season. The group stage draw took place in Istanbul, Turkey, and the group fates of Manchester City, Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur, and Chelsea were sealed. Liverpool got drawn in Group A alongside Ajax, Napoli, and Rangers. In the recent past, Liverpool has faced Napoli and Ajax in the group stages. Liverpool beat the Amsterdam outfit home and away in 2020, while Napoli can boast of 2 wins over the Reds, one each in the 2018 and 2019 group stages. The club from North London, Tottenham Hotspur, found themselves in Group D with Frankfurt, Sporting Lisbon, and Marseille completing the group. Now the Spurs are virtually and literally in unknown territories with this group, as they have never faced either Marseille or Sporting Lisbon in their history of official matches. Even against Frankfurt, the Spurs have only played a couple of matches in the UEFA European Cup Winners' Cup, and that too back in the March of 1982. It will be interesting to see how Antonio Conte navigates this group of unknowns and the tactics he employs against each of these sides. Coming to the Blues of Chelsea, they got grouped together with AC Milan, RB Salzburg, and Dinamo Zagreb in Group E. The biggest threat to Chelsea in the group comes from AC Milan, the Italian club they are yet to face since the 2 drawn matches between the two clubs back in 1999. Apart from Milan, the fate of Chelsea is just like Spurs, having played no official games against either Dinamo Zagreb or RB Salzburg. And last but not the least, the defending English champions Manchester City opened Group G and found Sevilla, Borussia Dortmund, and Copenhagen joining them. Erling Haaland will sure enjoy the homecoming against Dortmund, but will be interesting to see how he keeps his composure now that the yellow wall will be chanting against him and his side. That being said, the citizens did knock out Borussia Dortmund from the competition in the quarterfinals of last season and will be hoping to repeat the performance in the group stage this year. They also met FC Copenhagen back in 2009, with City prevailing over the Danish club. The record against Sevilla is no different, with 2 group stage victories back in 2015. In other highlights from the group stage draw for the 2022-23 season of the UEFA Champions League, Group C is the latest group of death, with Bayern Munich, Barcelona, and Inter Milan competing for the top 2 slots to progress. Record 14-time title winners Real Madrid are in Group F with RB Leipzig, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Celtic from Scotland. PSG and Juventus are together in Group H along with Benfica and Maccabi Haifa, the Israeli club making a comeback in the UCL for the first time since 2009. Another interesting factoid for the new season is that the 2 Scottish giants, Rangers and Celtic, are playing together in the UEFA Champions League for the first time in 15 years. With the weekend and the fixtures of the Gameweek 4 just a few hours away, Arsenal enter the weekend leading the table. West Ham United remain the only club yet to get any point this season and find themselves in the 20th position after losing to Brighton 2-0. Interestingly, the match between Brighton and Leeds United this weekend will be a contest between a 3rd place club and a 5th place club, and that is a sentence I never thought I'd say. The transfer window is about to come to a close with just a handful of days remaining. Will any club scramble for any deadline day buys or any panic buys? How will the clubs shape up after the window closes? How will the unpredictability of the Premier League affect the upcoming matches and game weeks? All these answers and more will follow in the upcoming episodes of your favorite football podcast, Gaffer's Advisor. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to Gaffer's Advisor on YouTube and follow on Spotify and Google Podcasts. If you like the coverage and the podcast, kindly share it with your football circle and help your own podcast grow. Until next episode, this is Gaffer's Advisor and your host Siddharth Kathuria signing off.